Ex-smokers of Reddit, what actually worked to get you to successfully stop smoking? Fell in love with a girl who didn't smoke. Simple as that. I got self-conscious about my breath and teeth and the smell of my clothes. I wanted her to want to kiss me all the time. And she never pressured me to quit. She just said smoke or don't smoke, but quit acting like you want to stop and then buying more. Sometimes, I still have one when I'm really stressed, finals week, etc. It's easy to stop there when you don't want to be a smoker anymore. I barely enjoy them now. Yeah man, exactly how I did it. The girl's gone now, but so are the cigarettes. I'm happy with that result. I knew I had to quit. My young son was getting older and was very aware. I kept putting it off because smokers are great at that. Then one day my 2-year-old picked someone's grubby old butt up off the ground, put it in his mouth and said, "Look daddy, I'm smoking too." Heartbreaking. I quit cold turkey the next day. So the moral of my story is that having a really great reason to quit smoking that means a lot to you is important. My father quit when he saw me drag on a crayon. I haven't smoked a cigarette in over a year. I was a pack-a-day smoker for around 15 years. I quit cold turkey using the book Alan Carr's Easy Way to Stop Smoking. Someone posted it to Reddit late one night and I decided frick it can't hurt to read it. You are told to smoke at different points throughout the book and then have one last cigarette after you finish the whole book. Well, that last cigarette happened to coincide with the last in my pack and the next morning I just wasn't motivated to buy another pack and I haven't since. Straight up force of will. I smoked since I was a fetus pretty much. I looked at my little daughter, I decided I'd much rather be there to see her grow up. You have to want it. Two things. An e-cigarette and actually wanting to quit. I couldn't have done it cold turkey. I'd tried a couple of times, but using the e-cig for a few months worked very well. I ended up using it less and less as time went on, and finally stopped altogether. E-cigarettes. Starting off at 24 mg nicotine and gradually winding down to 0 mg. I kept smoking nicotine free for a few weeks and finally quit. Same here. 0 mg for a week and done. It was far easier than expected, and I was vaping half a bottle a day, all day every day. I decided I wanted to quit. Pretty much how my dad quit. He literally went no more and quit smoking. I've been using e-cigs for a bit now. I started off with the equivalent nicotine mgs as what I was smoking a day. Once I run out of the vape juice I'd go in for a new bottle and decrease the nicotine level by 2. I'm now almost completely independent of nicotine. I've had a few cigs here and there and I can honestly say I prefer the taste of the vape over the cigs now. Be strong and good luck. I only quit when I got really sick from bronchitis and literally couldn't smoke a single cigarette for a week. After that I just kept up with it. The cravings don't totally go away though. I still have them, especially when I drink. I read a free PDF copy of the book The Easy Way to Quit Smoking by Alan Carr and quit cold turkey. I also followed our Stop Smoking around that time, where I found the book. I haven't had or wanted a cig since March 2013. Good luck. I quit smoking halfway through the book just so I wouldn't have to read the rest of the book. I wrote a $2,000 check to the Westboro Baptist Church and handed it to my closest confidant and said, "If you even hear about me smoking or using any sort of nicotine, you have to mail this in. In 1 year, you can return the check to me and I'll reevaluate." I failed quitting at least 20 times before this. With this method, it was by far the easiest time I ever had quitting. I had stakes in the game. I couldn't afford to lose. I couldn't lie to this guy and sneak one either. Guilt would be my own hangman. Note, cravings never go away. They just become easier to ignore. It's been 8 months and the last time I thought about smoking was yesterday. God hates FF being British slang for cigarettes. Switching to the e-cig worked well for me as well as most of my friends. I decided to try them out when they were still very new. There wasn't a whole lot of variety at the time and the first type I tried didn't satisfy, so I went back to tobacco. But as e-cigs grew in popularity, better products came out and were largely more satisfying than cigarettes. I don't know if you could classify this as 100% quitting, but it is definitely a better alternative. A majority of my friends have stepped down their nicotine levels and are at 0 milligrams. The only thing left to beat is the hand-to-mouth routine. And I think that is the hardest part. It worked for me too. I actually feel so much better. For me, the most important thing was to understand that smoking a cigarette does not help with any problem I have, nor does it make any moment any more special than it already is. For example, if I'm stressed, the smoker me wanted to have a smoke and thought that it is more difficult to deal with stress after having a smoke. The non-smoking me understands that the only way to deal with stress is to find the real cause for it and do something about that reason. Smokers tend to give cigarettes more value than they actually have. Mostly it is the ritual, the smoking break, having something to do with your hands, going outside for 5 minutes that helps, not the ciggy. Also, I ate a tiny bit of nicotine gum blended with normal sugar-free gum for the worst moments. I ate in total about 20 pieces. I had some cravings for salt licorice at the time. Maybe the taste is a bit similar. For me it helped. Vaporizer, Essig, 0 mg, and eventually I just stopped that too. Think I just liked having something to do instead of letting my hands idle. E-cigarettes. Been smoking for 16 years. Just quit this last Thanksgiving. Now cigarettes taste like crap. I still use my vape but I feel great. E-cigs are the second coming of Muhammad. I smoked for years and tried a lot of methods to quit, such as patches, gum, Essigs, etc. The only option for me was to quit cold turkey. It requires willpower, but it was the best way for me. Nicotine cravings only last 72 hours. After that it is just psychological addiction, which reduces over time. Cold turkey 1994. Found a great vapor store. Loved it. It was hard at first and occasionally, once a month maybe, I'll have a cigarette with a friend, but it's rare. It was still difficult, but it wouldn't have happened otherwise. Currently I'm vaping on a latest VTR, live. I read Alan Carr's book about quitting. The argument that did it for me was that smoking doesn't really make you feel better, it just makes you feel worse when you're not smoking. And then when you smoke you get to feel as good as a non-smoker feels all the time. Vaporizers, hands down. My whole family decided to switch to them as well, which helped a lot. Tried quitting before only to start back up because everyone else in the house smoked. Once we all quit, it was easier than anything else I've done. It was basically a social stigma that made me smoke. I can't speak for myself, so I'll tell my dad's story. He smoked for most of his life and had a heart attack. The doctors advised him to quit, and he tried. He really did. Patches didn't work, gum didn't work, so he always went back to smoking until he needed a heart bypass operation. He had a meeting with the surgeon who told him, if you don't stop smoking completely in 3 months' time, I will not do the operation. If you don't have this operation, you will not live to see your son grow up. You probably won't see Christmas. Worked a treat for him. As I recall, research suggests that gum, patches, etc. all feed the craving, and the most successful quitters were those who went cold turkey. I could probably find a source for that if necessary. I quit in 2008 after smoking for 23 years. What did it for me was a huge price increase, like $1 a pack. I got so pissed off that I was paying so much money to essentially kill myself that I was able to quit cold turkey. Truthfully, e-cigs, I bought them to get a crafty nicotine fix in a non-smoking workplace with no desire at all to give up smoking originally. I was very skeptical, but I thought anything was worth a try to get me through, so when my first 510 came in the mail I tried it out. What can I say except it worked, and I pretty much gave up smoking right away, and I still have an unopened packet. Don't think I could go back to smoking again, and it sickens me to see the campaigns against e-cigs now. I think they have lengthened my life, and it's downright evil to try and remove them from a society that still has tobacco. Easy Way to Stop Smoking by Alan Carr. I quit twice using this book, and so did all my friends. Highly recommend it to any smoker. I quit smoking about 9 million times before I was successful. That makes me an expert. Right, my personal research focused on former smokers with at least a year of non-smoking under their belts. led me to the solid conclusion that cold turkey is the method that almost all successful non-smokers use. 95% or so if I remember my stats correctly. Do your own research. Define what you think of as success in those searches. Here are some things that I went through to help me wrapped up as advice. First, get comfortable with the idea of being a non-smoker. Spend some time imagining what it will be like to stop smoking. Daydream about it. Practice turning down cigarettes in your mind. Let it be what you think about in the shower and as you drift to sleep at night. If you meditate on breathing better, being able to run, having white teeth, being morally superior to your smoking friends, or whatever about being a non-smoker is attractive to you. Then commit to being a non-smoker. Decide that you're going to become that daydream that you're having. That doesn't mean throwing down your pack and trying to see if your will or the drug is stronger. It means knowing balls to bones that this is what you're going to do. During this time, start cutting out some places that you smoke. For me, I stopped smoking in my car. Then I stopped smoking inside while at home. Then I stopped smoking at work. This was all a process that I went through for months. Decide on a date. Think of it as your new birthday. On your new birthday, get rid of all your smoking stuff. Give it away. Throw it away. Burn it if that means something to you. That means lighters, ashtrays, cigarettes. Avoid places where you went to smoke. That means changes in your life a while. Plan 6 months or a year. Smoking areas are off limits to you just like bars are off limits to an alcoholic. When you have those moments where you think you'll have to cave, pray if you're inclined. Take a time out. Go to your car and scream for a minute. Take a jog. Code. Eat celery. Pick your nose. Do something. Anything besides smoke. The craving will pass. Repeat the daydream in your head. Often, the withdrawal is only temporary. It's like having a bad case of the flu. It will suck, but you'll get over it. Stay done. Realize that you can't argue with addiction. There is no reasonable amount of smoking. There isn't a peaceable middle ground between smoking and not. Stick to it. If you slip up, so what? Throw that pack away too. Go back to the daydream of being a non-smoker. One slip isn't failure. Each time you've quit before has prepared you for this. Put your quitting shoes back on. Look at the benefits of quitting. Look them up. Read about them. Think about them. Cherish them. I doubt you'll get this given the thousands of responses, but maybe it will help someone. I worked as smoking cessation counselor back in the day. Some things to keep in mind. Most people attempt to quit 7-9 times before being successful, defined as at least 6 months without smoking. Having failed at quitting several times is actually good. It means you're on the right track of working out when and how to quit. There's 2 aspects to smoking, behavioral and physical. You can treat the physical with nicotine gum, patches, or gradually reducing your smoke intake before a quit day. Behavioral also requires strategy. Find something you can do when you want to smoke. Whenever and however you can change your habits is a big help. In the end, it all comes down to gutting it out. There are some tips and tricks that make it a little easier, but it's 99% guts. It isn't just nicotine addiction that comes along with smoking, it's habits, routines. I would have a cigarette before class, during breaks, and after class. I'd have a cigarette after a big meal, with my morning coffee, etc. Start breaking these habits. I would first stop smoking when I was going to from class, then gradually break more of these habits as you go along. I also started running to aid in the inevitable weight gain. It's also gratifying when you can run for a half hour straight without dying from the lack of breath. I hope this helps. I honestly never thought I'd be able to quit, and it's been over 6 months now. You can do it. Complete change of environment and habits. I quit my job. By doing so, I had the chance to change my entire daily schedule. With no habitual smoking breaks, I dropped it without a problem. It was really just the habit, not the addiction for me. I smoked for about 6 or 7 years and tried cold turkey or limiting myself to only smoking at home and not work. My sister-in-law's dad was a lifetime smoker and developed lung cancer at the age of 60 and slowly died within 2 months. She sent me a picture of him in the hospital a week after the diagnosis, and that was enough for me. It wasn't the typical "your lungs will be black and fall apart if you smoke" but rather a real world example that hit very close to home. This was a man that I viewed as a strong leader, and now he was barely over 100 pounds and couldn't even lift his head on his own. I stopped cold turkey that night and haven't looked back. I have a brother who still smokes, and at his rate he won't live to see 60, which means he only has 25 years left with us. I would never want to force my views on anyone and understand that people can do what they want, but I would strongly recommend that anyone reading this comment please stop smoking. If not for yourself, then at least for your family and friends. We have two age 70 plus guys in our office. One sky-eyed, still goes to the gym and was active and never smoked his entire life. The other has been smoking since he was a teen. The non-smoker is as active as a 50-year-old. Listening to the smoker cough up his lungs every 40 minutes is terrible. It is like my uncle's last 5 days alive when he came to live with us. Lung cancer. My headphones barely drown it out. We're all gonna be old someday. Which old person would you rather be? That and also waking up in the morning with headaches, scratchy throat, and black boogers made me stop. When my desire to smoke a cigarette was less than driving out in the middle of a tropical storm to get another pack. Then I realized how much I didn't want a cigarette after the storm cleared. I heard an interview with a medical researcher who had just released a paper claiming that if you stop smoking at 30, then your prospects of a long life are not significantly changed by the fact that you once smoked. I was 33 at the time, and I realized that I had a chance to turn things around and do it now before it was too late, as I was already beyond the mark. And then a few months later I met my wife-to-be, who was totally anti-smoking. If I had smoked that day when we first met, yes, it was a real Hollywood-like love at first sight moment, she would not have paid me any attention. This removed any risk at all of me reverting to my smoking ways. Yes, I struggled with the want to smoke, but I had found something so much better. A woman that loved me and a prospect of a long life. Simples. Willpower. I had yet another month where I had still some month left at the end of my money, and I said to myself, that's it. I quit. I'm so done with this crap. Never touched a cig again. Now 2 months off them. Having a heart attack at age 28. I had 2 packs on me and gave them to the EMTs. It helped to have a week off of work too. I couldn't function for a few days with the withdrawal. I started smoking at age 13 and stopped smoking at age 42. I am 46 years old and haven't had one in 4 years. I got to a point where I knew in my mind that smoking was going to one day kill me quicker than I wanted to die. You gotta just want to quit. Period. It really is mind over matter, and once you get over that hump, there's no going back. Stop trying to quit if you really don't want to quit. If you do want to quit, stop being a P and do it, and I mean that in a good way. Getting pregnant. This obviously is also an expensive habit though. I quit cold turkey after smoking for 12 years and never touched them again. Cold turkey. I just remember standing outside thinking, God, this hurts. My lungs literally hurt right now, and put it out. Never looked back. I didn't go out for a while. Almost all of my friends smoked at the time. I just shut myself in for like a month and felt exponentially better every day. Now, even second-hand smoke gives me an asthma attack. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.